Today, we are going to take my dad on his very first supercharging session run thing. He's never supercharged his 2023 Tesla Model 3, and we're going to do it right now. We're going to show you exactly how to do it all if you haven't done this yourself. All right, the first thing you're going to want to do to supercharge is find a supercharger, and they're all gone. So that means you got to touch this right here. Oh, now they magically showed up again, and for some reason parks. I don't know why. So we're going to want to go to that supercharger. So go ahead and tap on that, the 19. You always want to navigate to the supercharger that you're going to, and you tap on that little up arrow there, the black one, and that is now going to take you there. Now, even if you know where the supercharger is, you still want to tell it where you're going because of this right here. Preconditioning battery for fast charging. So basically you've told the Tesla that you're going to go supercharge. It's getting the battery ready, it's getting it warmed up or cooled down, whichever it happens to be. Today it's only 90 degrees, so it's just getting it ready. In the winter, I have seen it preconditioned for supercharging a full 100 miles away from actually getting there on a trip to Mammoth, Los Angeles kind of a situation. So it took that long to get the battery warmed up and ready to supercharge. So you could see it as little as, I've seen it on a recent trip in the summer, I've seen it as low as 2 exits away, 5 miles. It started this process of preconditioning, but as far out as 100 miles. So now that we are navigated to our local supercharger, we are gonna go. He's got a perfect battery for this, by the way, 46 miles. Or 17%. You want to show up at a supercharger at the lower end because you're going to take advantage of faster speeds once you get there. We are inside a 2023 Tesla Model 3, my dad's brand new car.
Now turn left.
And we are going to supercharge it for the very first time at our local supercharger. He has never done this process, doesn't know anything about it, so we're going to walk him through it pretty easily. We did, so we're going to make a left here. We did set it up and told it where we were going to supercharge, so it has been preconditioning for supercharging or fast charging. It used to say supercharging. And so we're going to get up there. We've got 19 stalls available. That's what that 19 means. If you ever see a red flag with, now it's 25 actually.
Your destination will be on the left.
So, well, okay, she's wrong about that. It's actually on the right. So a couple aisles up and we will make the turn. So here we go.
I see what you mean. You gotta back in.
Yep. So why don't we try to back in next to that white Y? Nice looking S right here. That's looking pretty cool. So we are backing in. This is the first time.
Destination is on the left.
We could turn her off too. First time he has ever supercharged. Now, one thing I did make sure of, there was a credit card on file, and there usually is because when you make your deposit for your purchase on your Tesla, that's the card they use. I think you're fine to go straight on in, and you're going to just slowly back it into that thing because you do need as much cabling you need it to reach. A little bit more and stop. I think you're good.
Okay.
And so we are in
Park
position. We are in park, definitely.
Okay.
And she actually turned herself off. So back to the credit card. The credit card's already on file. So we are at 42 miles or 15% state of charge. Let's take a look at that here.
Do you want to go to full?
We're not going to charge to full, so no, that's fine. This is because he has an LFP battery, but we're not going to sit here and wait for, an hour and a half to charge 100%. So these are all good numbers. We're going to see some fast speeds for sure because he's on the low end of the battery at 15%. So let's do the next step. All right, so the next step in supercharging is actually plugging it in. So grab the nozzle over here. No, you do that next.
Oh.
So we'll grab the nozzle. And we're going to push that little button right there. Press and hold. All right, well, it's supposed to, there we go.
Now just plug it
Just
in.
plug it in. Just like at home. Make sure it's secure. We got blue. Let's see what happens next. I hear clicking. Green is good. You are supercharging.
Wow.
That's it.
That's amazing.
That's all it is.
That's
because the credit card's on file with this car.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about payment or anything like that. It'll just automatically show up on the screen.
Right.
And let's show you that next. So green
Okay.
is good. We are supercharging. Hopping back in the car there. Oh, this is great. So because this is the first time for this car, it's actually giving him supercharging tips. So first tip is find the fastest supercharger. Filter by the 3 bolts on the navigation, which we kind of did before we began today. Navigate to the supercharger, which I told you. See, I'm right.
Right.
Navigate to the
you are.
supercharger. The battery will precondition for fast charging or faster charging. You want to arrive with 20% or less. I forget where we were at, but we were pretty low. I think it was 15% actually.
Yes.
So that was good. I mean, that's not a hard and fast rule. You could still show up at 50. Nothing's going to happen to you. It'll just be faster this way. Leave spaces between cars. This we also discussed briefly. Neighboring stalls may. That is the key word there. May share power. So let's go over that real quick. At this particular supercharging location, you can see on the top of those stalls, it says up to 150 kilowatts. Those are version 2 superchargers. Those chargers over there will be affected by neighboring Teslas. So on that side, you definitely want to leave space. On the side that we're on, says 250. These are version 3 superchargers. These are not affected by neighboring Teslas sharing. So you could park next to anybody you'd like on these version 3s. Now, unfortunately, not all superchargers have those red flags on top of them. You kind of have to know about it at some of them. But for this particular location, it's great that it literally tells you 150 on that side. Those are version 2 superchargers. The version 3s are behind us at 250 kilowatts, so we are not affected by sharing or neighboring Teslas. And the final step there is, of course, move your car after charging, because for a couple of reasons. It's rude to leave it there. It's just bad electric car etiquette. And second of all, you're going to rack up, overage fees, idle fees by sitting there. Idle fees may apply right there, and they're not cheap. It's up to $1 a minute sometimes. So back to the supercharging itself. We are at 136 kilowatts. This car maxes out at 170. I have seen it as high as 175 on my particular model. The other cars, for instance, this Tesla Model Y Performance over there, that one maxes out at the 250. So it can take full advantage of this V3 supercharger. Why I felt okay to park here, even though this car can't take advantage of it, is there's not many people here. And we're doing a video. If we weren't, and it was full, I'd probably have my dad park over on the V2s because he'd still charge fast enough. So back to the speeds. We've got 135, 134 kilowatts in terms of speed. Some people like to use the miles per hour. I don't, but we're at 595 miles per hour of charge. And just in the time that I've been talking, we've added 34 miles to the battery. And like we alluded to, we're already there. We've got it set to, what is that, 89%. We're at 90%. We're not going to charge that long, of course. We'll just get enough for the video. And it tells you down here how much you spent. So you spent $3 for 36 miles, which I believe in LA County is still cheaper than gas. So that's not too bad. If you do want to see what you're paying, you can, of course, tap on the supercharger, and it tells you right there on the list of features here. So you got your idle fees, like I said, $1 per minute. You've got 25 stalls available. This is a little deceiving because it says 32 stalls at 250 kilowatts. I guess it does say max. Those over there are not going to hit those speeds. And we're paying 36 cents a kilowatt hour. So if you ever want to get the details on a supercharger, there you go.
So how come this isn't going up?
That's a great question. There are several factors involved. First of all, you're never going to see the 170 for very long. So let's say you show up at, like we did, 15% state of charge. We never saw the 170 to answer your question because we didn't precondition long enough. It was only 2 miles out. So it didn't give it a chance to really get it optimized for charging.
Okay.
Also, the 170 mark, you're only going to see for about 10% of the charge. That first 10%, especially if you're on the lower end of the battery. So then it kind of levels out to this 132. It may even drop to 90, 80, 70 throughout the charging session.
So if I'm on a trip and I know that I'm going to have to charge down the road, I should set it up as early as possible. That I want to go to this charging station,
Absolutely.
and so that when I get there, it'll already be conditioned. Right?
On a trip, typically what you want to do is put in your supercharger every single time. Because basically on a trip, what you're doing is supercharger hopping. One to the
Right.
next, to the next, to the next.
Right.
It may not always work out that way. You may want to stop earlier. You have to go to the bathroom. You want to get a snack. You find a supercharger that's earlier than you anticipated.
Mhm.
But generally on a trip, you're not going to drive blind on the nav. You're going to want to have a supercharger in there. at all times.
So like if I'm going to San Francisco,
Yep.
we live in LA, so
Yep.
so I want to go to San Francisco, and I know that I should stop twice. Let's just say twice. I think I can
Sure.
do it in one. But I should program before I leave home. I should program the supercharger. I want to stop here and I want to stop there.
You can do it that way once you know your trips. If you know, like I know the San Francisco trip really well, so I can do that. What I would suggest you do as a first timer, let's say you're going to San Francisco, put in your hotel. It will tell you where to stop and when.
Oh, okay.
It'll put the superchargers in there for you and do all that stuff.
Will it condition the battery? And
It will
everything?
do everything for you.
Oh, okay.
So if you put in your final destination, the nav will do everything for you and tell you exactly which supercharger to stop at. It'll precondition everything for you. It'll be hands-free and super easy to do.
Okay.
I like to kind of game the system and play around a little bit, so
Sure.
I'll go supercharger to supercharger, but I generally know the California routes pretty well.
Well, it's like going to Vegas, or
Yep.
you know, which ones do you stop at? But that's a nice feature that you can program it in, and they'll tell you
Yep.
where to go. That's kind of nice.
You can basically
have to
just
do
forget
all
about
the-
the trip.
Yeah, you don't have to do all the calculations to say, okay, my battery's going to be down to here at this point. I got to stop.
Yep.
Um,
And speaking of the Vegas trip, that has become so much easier these days. They've added more in Barstow, more at Baker. The Baker area's got over 100 superchargers now. They've quadrupled trim. I mean, the Vegas trip from Los Angeles nowadays is super crazy easy. So that particular trip that you mentioned is easy.
wow. Okay.
So we are looking at another 20 minutes if we were to stay for the full 90%. We have added 75 miles in just the time we've been chatting and getting some good questions in. It's kind of slowing down to 118 kilowatts, which is still crazy fast. In fact, there are EVs on the market that can't even hit that. So
Oh, okay.
what we consider slow, a Chevrolet Bolt, for instance, this would be double for them. They can only
Wow.
max out at 55 kilowatts.
Okay. Oh,
So
wow.
just to give you a frame of reference,
Mhm.
that's not really that slow still,
We've only been here, what, 10 minutes?
if that.
If
Yeah.
that. And at least I can get home.
Oh, totally.
It's already up to 123 miles. That gets me, I can go anywhere I want,
Yep. Yep.
not have to stop until I get home. Oh, question I wanted to ask you.
Please do.
Do these chargers go by, like you have a home charger,
Mm-hmm.
and at home you want to charge after 9 o'clock to get the lowest rate?
Sure.
At these chargers, is there a lower rate, or are they all just the same rate?
That is an awesome question, and we will take you on the nav for that answer. Right there. So this particular location is 36 kilowatts, or 36 cents a kilowatt hour all the time. It used to be have different rates for overnight charging, off-peak, holidays, but it will always tell you right here. So my answer to you is every location is different. You just have to tap around. I think all of the ones in our area are, in fact, that one's higher, 39 cents, but they are not split in terms of what you're talking about in off-peak. And I think it's, let me see here. What we got here, that's Newhall, also not split. So it really just depends on not only your area, but also your area of the country, what electric company these are hooked up to, what rates
Mhm.
they're providing, all that sort of thing.
So a lot of them, though, are set to a certain one. It's not like, okay, I'm going to go to the supercharger at 9 o'clock at night because it's cheaper.
Yep.
It's kind of like, it's the same price whether you come at 9 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock at night.
And here's another thing. So Santa Clarita, where we're sitting now, actually used to have that, and it was up until 10 a.m. 10 a.m. began the peak rate, and it was higher. And I did a test to see, let's say, what happens if you plug in at 9:59 and you continue to charge through, say, 10:20. Do you get 1 minute of the lower rate and then the higher rate? And the answer was no. You got the lower rate for the whole session if you start it before the 10 o'clock.
Ah, okay.
My dad's telling me he's got enough to get around. He's got enough to go to the store and stuff. So, and he spent $8.66 on the session, and that will always keep your running tab right there. So let's get him out. Let's get him unplugged and show him how to do that. All right, so this is dead simple as well. Just push the button and pull it out when you hear the click.
Is that the click?
Yep, go ahead. Put it back in its rack. You have supercharged for the first time.
That was simple.
I told you.
Simple enough to do that.
Isn't it?
You know, and I learned a lot.
Good.
From having to go, you know, how much does it cost for what time it is, and that was quick.
Yeah.
I did almost 100 miles in less than 10 minutes.
Isn't that great?
That was terrific.
Very cool.
And if I was to get gas, it'd be the same. You know, I'm not really using a lot more time.
Yep.
Than I would to get gas rather than just the
well,
charger.
And you can watch videos or play video games
Sure.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Maybe not you, but others.
Right. No. It's not like you're bored. You know, oh, I got to sit there for an hour and wait just to get 10 miles.
Exactly.
You know, this is pretty fast. I would have to say even at the lower rate, it's still fast.
Oh, for sure.
For
sure.
Even at that rate.
All right, that is it. My dad's very first supercharging session after picking up his 2023 Tesla Model 3. Was it painless?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Pretty easy, right?
Absolutely easy, and not a lot of time spent trying to charge something.
For sure.
It was smooth. It was, I never felt like I'm waiting and waiting and waiting.
Well, honestly, it took longer than it probably should have because we're doing this video.
Sure, but I mean, but it still went really quick. I was happily surprised. I learned something new again every day. With this car, you just keep learning things.
Oh, for sure. I'm 4.5 years in and I'm still learning.
That they'll do. And like you say, after, you're learning everything, well, you're going to get an update and that may change.
Yeah.
So you got to watch for your updates because that may change something that you're used to doing.
Yep. If you found this video useful, you found my dad, supercharging for the first time and you're kind of worried about it. You just got your Tesla. You're not sure what to do. I hope this information helped you. And go ahead and hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell is a big deal too. If you like what we're doing here, it'll automatically notify you on your phone anytime we have a new video pop up on our channel. So thank you so much for watching. We'll chat again next on Tesla Tips and Trips.